Welcome back to the Passive Road to Retirement podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Jarrett. Today, we're joined by Calvin Ewing. Cal is a real estate and mortgage note investor who has been investing in U.S. real estate for the past 14 years from his home in Calgary, Canada. Over his career, he has done everything from fix and flips, wholesaling, to long-term rental properties, subject to deals, but has recently found his niche in the mortgage note investing space, where he currently buys performing and non-performing notes secured to residential properties across the United States. Cal, welcome to the show.
Andrew, thanks for having me on. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, great to have you. So I guess, diving right into it, how did you first get involved in real estate?
Well, I think the first idea I had about owning real estate when I was in my early 20s was I wanted to just own vacation property somewhere warm because living in Canada, you get sick of the cold winters. And I know you being in Florida, you probably get a lot of Canadians that come down and try to escape. So,
Oh, yeah.
so I'm
Sure
definitely
do.
have the same mindset. So when I was super young, like that's what I wanted to do. And then I ended up reading Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Mhm.
And as you probably have read, it's all about cash flow from rental properties and just real estate in general. And that really lit a fire under me because at the time I was going to college as a training to be a geologist. And after reading that book, I was like, that's what I actually want is I want freedom, like time freedom to be able to do what I want, not have to clock into a 9 to 5 job. And my career I was heading into, there's a lot of like field work in the middle of nowhere and extreme temperatures and very long distances from any kind of humanity. And so I wasn't exactly excited about my career path, and just seeing that the real estate offered other opportunities and a lot more freedom, I was really hooked, and that became my lifelong goal. And the more I got into it, the more I realized I really love how it's a mix of both analytical brain and
Mhm.
creativity, right? From
Right.
everything from marketing creativity to just like the way you structure deals and things like that. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. And man, Rich Dad Poor Dad, if I had $1 for every time somebody told me that book changed their life, it's
I'm sure.
that book was, I mean, life changing for me too. It wasn't my first one I read. I read Russ Whitney's books first, but that led me
Yeah.
into Rich Dad Poor Dad, and that book is great. So,
Yeah. Well, it's funny. Around the same time, I was living in an apartment and someone had dropped off a big box of self-help books by the
Mhm.
dumpster.
Oh,
And
really?
I was looking through them, and there was, I think, 4 or 5 real estate books and like CD like trainings. And so I
Wow.
was like, yoink, grab these. And I can't even remember the guy's name, but like a lot of the strategies are probably outdated because it was like from the mid 90s. But I listened to all of those, and it really opened my eyes to all the different types of strategies you could do.
Oh, yeah.
But what I soon found out is most of that was strategies you can do in the US and not in Canada. Just our laws are different, and there's a lot, I guess, more stricter laws here.
Hmm.
So there's a lot less that you can do for creative real estate. And so that's why I started in the US, is there's just so much more flexibility than there is here in Canada. It
Yeah.
got going, and I've never looked back. I actually know more about US real estate than I do Canadian, even though I live in Canada. So
That's funny.
yeah.
Man, I can't believe someone would just throw that stuff away. That's crazy?
Yeah, it was like a gold mine of
Yeah.
development and yeah,
That's funny. Yeah, I
yeah,
never throw that stuff away. I mean, but yeah, I agree. That's like finding a treasure chest.
yeah.
So I guess so how'd you start? Did you get into like buy and hold or fix and flip, wholesaling? How'd you start out?
Well, I actually was fortunate enough to meet another guy that lived in Calgary here in Canada, and
Okay.
he got his start with rental properties here in Calgary, but he started venturing out. This is right around when the wave of foreclosures hit Las Vegas in
Oh, okay.
2010. And so he was actually buying lots of properties down there at the foreclosure auctions. And he was actually training Canadians because just people would come up to him and be like, "Hey, how do you do that? Like, I want to join in." And so he started doing tours, and he would charge for the tours, but he'd bring you down there to Vegas and you to meet his team and work with his realtors that would go to the auctions every day for him. And basically, he'd plug you into his whole team that he built for free, just for the price of the tour that you paid. And
Wow.
so I had some some guys that we all went in together to buy our first property and really didn't know what we were doing except for what I read in those books.
Mm-hmm.
But luckily he had built a really strong team. And so we got our first deal done through his team down in Vegas. And we just did a lipstick remodel and sold it. And I think we only made like 10 grand or something from it. But I was like, man, this is awesome. Like it actually worked.
Right.
My first deal and we made money.
Yeah.
And then at that time, Phoenix kind of followed. They were a little bit behind. And so then they had a huge foreclosure wave as well. And he built another team there. So
Wow.
we kind of followed him into the Phoenix market and kept that property. We kept that one as a rental and did really well on that. And then eventually we sold it because we kind of bought it right at rock bottom when the market had tumbled and it was on the rise again. And so, yeah, so then we did good on 2 properties. And after that, I was like, okay, I get the whole, like, I get this, it does work, but now I want to be the guy that finds the deals instead of just, gives the money and doesn't know what's going on. So,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
it motivated me to want to learn all these strategies myself and build my own teams and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Hey, everyone. Hope you're enjoying this episode. Are you ready to maximize your real estate investing to its full potential? Send an email to andrew@jarrettcapital.com and take your life and business to all new levels. That's Andrew@JARRETT capital.com. Okay. So you kind of went more from like passive, like private investor type to an active, like deal finder, sourcing, that stuff.
Yeah, well, it wasn't really a private investor. It was more like turnkey. There's
Okay.
certain companies that will find the properties and do all the work for you, and you just buy them, right?
Yep.
And then you get all the benefits of the cash flow or whatever, which is great for lots of busy people, right?
Sure.
But I find that if you can find the deals yourself, first of all, you learn way more, but there's also more profits because you don't have to worry about paying all the other middlemen involved.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. And now you've kind of switched over into note investing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, like, I don't know, have you invested from outside of your state or city? Because
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah. So as you know, remote investing can be definitely has its challenges.
Yeah. Yep.
And being in a different country as well has its challenges. So what I've found over the years, just my curiosity's got me into lots of different strategies. And I don't think it's shiny object syndrome. It's more like curiosity on I'd like to be able to put these strategies into motion and just see how they work. Just my curiosity. So I've done, wholesaling, flips, like you said, subject twos and that kind of thing. And one of the things that caught my eye in Texas, a lot of people like to owner finance or do, seller financing, owner financing in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And part of it's because lease options don't really work. Rental homes don't really work in Texas. So people owner finance. And so I got into that and I did a couple of those deals where we buy a house subject to the seller's mortgage and then owner finance it to a new buyer.
Okay.
They pay a down payment and then now you're the lender, right? They're paying the monthly payments.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the idea of being a note holder or a lender and collecting the loan payments instead of being a landlord, just because, as you know, if you're the landlord, then you've got tenants and toilets and vacancies
Termites,
and
right? Yeah.
expenses, right?
Yep.
And so being a remote investor, that can be tricky to deal with. So I do like the idea of getting that monthly cash flow in, but not having to get the broken toilet calls and all of that kind of thing. And so that's how I drifted more into the note space, is just a little bit more hands off. And I find that you can actually, like, I invest all over the US now instead of just one market in Texas, just because notes are a little bit more flexible with the amount of babying you got to do once you've got the deal.
Sure. Yep. Makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
And now how do you find like all your potential investments? Is there like websites you look at or just combing through like local municipalities or how do you go about that?
So I do a lot of like constant networking on LinkedIn.
Okay.
So I'm set up so that I've got a cool little app that plugs into LinkedIn. And so I reach out to asset managers at different banks across the US who might be selling notes. So performing notes where the borrowers have been paying consistently. And then also non-performing notes, which is where the borrowers have stopped paying for a certain amount of time. And a lot of times you can buy those non-performing mortgages at a pretty good discount. because the banks, they don't want to keep them on their books. They don't want to have to foreclose and take the property back and all of that.
Sure.
So you can get some pretty good deals. And, because I'm a small investor, I can take the time to work with the borrower one-on-one to try and get them back on track. And we call that rehabbing the borrower, trying to figure out, why aren't they paying? Is there something we can do to help them save their property and get back on track paying again? Whereas a big bank, they don't have there's too much going on, right? They can't work with a borrower very much, right? So we have that flexibility, so we can buy it at a big discount. And then when we get them paying again, then that's a really, really improved return on investment, because you're getting more than what the interest rate is because you bought it at a discount, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Yeah. So LinkedIn, and just growing my network, I reach out to private note investors that might be selling. Sometimes guys and gals, they need the cash to buy a bigger investment or something like that. Like recently, a guy was trying to buy an apartment building, so he needed the cash for the down payment, so he was selling off a bunch of his notes. So just constant networking.
Yeah.
Yeah,
makes sense. Same in the, same as single family, multifamily, same thing. Network's your net worth, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And the thing I like about notes is when you're dealing with sellers of single family homes, as you're probably well aware, sometimes there can be a lot of drama, right?
Right.
Like
Oh yeah.
family drama, or even just negotiating, just lots of issues, even getting access to the property, things like that. So those are all challenges with dealing with home sellers. Whereas note sellers, there's not a lot of emotion there. It's just more about, can we come up to the right number to make it work for both parties?
Sure.
So all those drama headaches
kind of go away.
Yeah.
Now, will you hold notes and take them long term, or if you can get them performing again, do you sell the notes and reinvest in something else, or what's your typical strategy?
I'm mostly longer term. My goal is, again, going back to the rich dad idea, the cash flow game of like just acquiring more and more cash flowing assets, so that, eventually when I get tired of working and want to take a year to travel or something, that money's there. And so, but part of it depends on the type of note. And I do a lot of work with private investors. So I work with people that have like self-directed IRAs and other funds that they want to put to work, but they don't really maybe have the time or the knowledge to find good deals.
Sure.
And so sometimes they only want to be in a deal for 2 or 3 years. And then at that point, then we could sell off the note or pay them out, or there's lots of different things. But I do like the longer term play with cash flow. And then sometimes there's notes where you end up having to foreclose. So the borrowers, we can't get them on track, or maybe they've already vacated the property, they've already given up. And so you can buy those notes, and those are more, excuse me, those are kind of equivalent to more of like a wholesale deal or a fix and flip, where you're buying it, and then a short time later, after you foreclose, then you're either selling the property off, or taking it back and then renovating it and selling it. So those are more short term. You get paid once, but it's a bigger chunk of cash type of a deal. Yeah.
Okay. And now your investors, do you have like different options if somebody says, oh, I want to be in for a year, maybe somebody else wants to be in 10 years? Like, do you have different structures, I guess, you can put them in for that?
Not really. Like I just work one-on-one with one investor at a time. And I just try to feel out what they're looking for. And then if a note seems like it's going to be a fit, I just try to cater to their needs and put them in the right kind of deal that they want that makes sense for them and meets their goals. So, and it's cool because because I'm Canadian, I actually work with quite a few Canadian investors that, they want to do the same thing, kind of how I started, right? They want to do deals in the US because the numbers make a lot more sense than in Canada. And so we're able to put them into something without them having to get all the knowledge that I've obtained about US investing. So,
that's great. Yeah, good diversification for them. Absolutely.
Yeah, a little bit of a niche I got. So
yeah. Okay. Now I guess you've done, it sounds like quite a few deals. Typically everyone has one deal that hasn't gone as planned, or not exactly at that return. Do you have any like that you could share your experience and maybe what you learned from that?
Yeah, I do. So not living in Houston, I know that they're on the coast, and sometimes hurricanes can affect the
Yeah.
coast, the Gulf of Mexico.
Sometimes.
Um, yeah, a couple times.
Yeah.
But when I was getting started, my first couple flips in Texas, I guess I was a little naive and I was more eager to get a deal done. And so I had the opportunity, I had some bandit signs out and I had a deal I got off a bandit sign and
Hmm.
the numbers were a little bit tighter than I wanted, but I was like, hey man, it's a deal. Like I finally got a deal going. And so bought the house. We started renovating it and like, I, I don't even know if I checked the flood zone. Like I think I was just kind of like, well, if I did notice that it was in a flood zone, I was just like, well, come on, like it's going to be a 6 month flip. Like, what are the odds? I don't even think we were in hurricane season at that time. So I did get flood insurance on it. My hard money lender required it.
Yeah.
Um, but you know where this is going. So right when we had our open house to sell the property after the remodel, that Sunday when we had the open house scheduled is when Hurricane Harvey hit,
Oh,
and that house took on 4 feet of water.
wow.
And yeah, so and I actually had another flip as well that I was doing that I bought from a wholesaler, and it was about half done the remodel, and it took on like 6 feet of water. And I
Man.
think, yeah, I just think I was in that space where I just wanted a deal, and I'm sure a lot of other investors out there they'll ignore certain things because they just want the deal, right?
Right.
Like most of the numbers make sense, so let's just do it.
Hmm.
And I think that was my biggest lesson is like working in Houston, you got to be checking flood zones and expect that. And I think a lot of people learned tough lessons with Hurricane Harvey, but yeah, so I had two flips flood. And luckily, I did have flood insurance, but we still lost money on them. And I was able to make up a lot of it because there was a lot of opportunities to wholesale flooded houses down
Yeah.
there
Hmm.
after that. But yeah, it hurt for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's painful. We do the same thing in Florida, and we
Oh, I bet.
99% of the time will not buy in a flood zone.
Yeah.
Especially with the flood insurance premiums now, they're crazy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The just paying for your flood insurance, it eats up all your profit if it
Yeah.
hits a rental, especially.
Right. Exactly.
Or makes it hard to get tenants in there. And then mold, that's the other thing. Like
Yep.
even wholesaling houses, I found that there's a lot of investors that, they just wouldn't trust it because they're worried about mold. And so, yeah, it's best to just stay away from those kind of deals for sure.
Yeah. Yep. I agree.
Mhm.
Um, I guess how has passive income kind of changed your life or your family life? Have you noticed a difference since, not only mindset, but, family quality time and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think just knowing that whatever happens, you're covered, just that kind of sense of security. I
Hmm.
mean, it's the same kind of feeling, I guess, you have if you have a steady job, except that you don't have to give up all of your life to the job.
Right.
So it's just that sense of like, okay, well, at least, I know this much money's coming no matter what,
Hmm.
give or take. And yeah, it just gives me more time to be a dad. And that's one of the things I've loved about being a real estate investor is like, my little girl, she's 8 now, and I've been able to spend so much time at home with her as she's grown up. And I know so many other dads don't get that luxury.
Hmm.
Some dads, especially in the field I was going into as a geologist, they're gone like all the time, and they don't get to see their kids grow up. And I think I mean, it's not their choosing, but it's so hard on both the dad and the kid, right? So
Right.
that's just been such a great thing to be able to have that flexibility of working from home and being around my family and watching my kids grow up. So
Yeah. Yeah. That's a
yeah,
solid why. It's a great reason to do it.
yeah. And then teach them, right? So that they can have similar freedoms in their own lives when they grow up.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mhm.
Starting from 8 years old, if she's learning now, man. By the time she's an adult, she'll never have to work in her life.
Yeah, well, my
A
stepdaughter,
job anymore.
she just turned 16 and she doesn't seem that interested, but maybe she'll come around later once she has to work for a
Yeah.
living.
Once she gets that first job, yeah.
Yeah,
Change your
exactly.
mind.
Yeah.
Yep. That's funny.
Yeah.
I guess what was your fork in the road moment where you decided that instead of doing fix and flips, wholesales, you want to mostly focus on notes going forward?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think originally, I was just trying to do any kind of deals that made sense, that I could
Mhm.
do. And because I was Canadian, I was limited to some of the financing I could get for rentals and that kind of thing. So I just took that path of wholesaling, because you can make nice money wholesaling, but I realized just how much of a grind wholesaling can be.
Right.
And I was really successful doing that for quite a while. As you know, fix and flips are good, but there's risks which I
Yep.
encountered. But I got to this point where I was like, wait a second, like I'm doing all these strategies where you get paid one time and you do a whole bunch of work.
Yep.
And it sort of just felt like another job. And I was like, wait a second, like when I started this, I look back to Rich Dad, right? And the cash flow game, right? I don't know if you played cash flow, but the
Oh
whole
yeah.
point is to get enough passive income so that you can cover your expenses and stop working.
Right.
I was like, well, why am I like busting my butt doing these short-term deals where you get paid one time when I could be going back to the principles and getting that cash flow in again in the monthly passive income. And so that's where I was like, okay, stop doing all these other strategies and just like focus on that cash flow objective again. And
Yep.
so that was my fork in the road to go into notes.
Nice. I like I mean when I started out, I wholesaled too and did some fix and flips, and yeah, if you're not doing deals, you're not making any money, so
Yeah, and that's stressful, right? If you like
yeah,
don't have anything coming in one month, you're like, oh
right.
my God, how am I going to get through this?
Yeah. Or the
Yeah,
market changes,
yeah,
fluctuations, and then, what do you do? So yeah,
yeah.
I totally agree. Passive income that's why I've been more buy and hold, my entire life. So yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Yeah. And then I mean, that's the one benefit of rentals over notes is you got that appreciation as well to help.
True.
So that's one definite benefit of owning rental properties. But I guess with notes, you can, if you buy them at a discount, you can kind of create your own uh, appreciation or equity in the deal as well. So,
Hmm.
yeah.
Absolutely. Okay.
Yeah.
I guess what would be your number one takeaway for the audience, from this episode you'd want them to absorb?
Um, I think, yeah, number one, don't ignore certain, like I was saying with those flood properties,
Yeah.
don't ignore some of the things you're taught in your due diligence just because you really want to get a deal.
Hmm.
I know when you're like putting out a lot of money for marketing and that kind of thing, whether it's, direct mail or Facebook ads or Google ads, it starts to add up and you start maybe getting like you just want to do a deal to get some of that money back.
Right.
But I think if the margins are slim, don't do the deal. Like set your criteria ahead of time and follow your plan. And that
Hmm.
was the mistake I made back then. And don't cut corners just because you need that deal. So that's one of them. Number two is, don't set limits on yourself. Like I talk to a lot of Canadians, because I am one, that say, well, US, too scary and double taxed. And, they have all these excuses why not to move forward. And I think they're all just excuses. So if there's excuses you have in your mind about why you can't start investing, no matter where you live, or why you can't try to invest in a different state or something like that, just question yourself and say, is that really real? And maybe you need to talk to other people that are already doing it. Because a lot of times there's ways of making it happen. You just put your own limits on yourself.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Those are great points. I agree. Yeah. It's all mindset, right? Your own self
yeah,
limit of why you can't.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, before we get into our 5 to Thrive section, what's the best way for people to reach out and contact you or, jump on a call?
Yeah. So if you just go to www.talkwithcalewing.com and you can just book a call with me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah. I'm happy to talk real estate anytime, or, I don't mind giving some advice to folks. So just book a call.
Awesome. Last question before we get into our 5 to Thrive. If you could step in my shoes for the interview,
Mhm.
is there any question you would ask yourself that I didn't ask you?
Yeah, if I was in your shoes, I would be asking me why the hell I'm living in Canada instead of Florida.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
And I would say that citizenship, I guess, and my wife's got a good job here.
Yeah. That makes
Um,
sense.
no, not really. That's Can't really think of anything.
It's a good question, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, get the
and I
sun
guess
instead of the snow. I
alligators.
mean,
That's the other
yeah,
reason.
true. Yeah, fair trade-off. Hurricanes.
Yeah, hurricanes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So this is our 5 to Thrive. So this is a word association game. I just rattle off 5 words, rapid fire. Just give me the first word or phrase, sentence, whatever, that comes to mind after the word. So
Okay.
just can't repeat the same answer.
Okay.
Okay.
Getting nervous here.
The first one is passive income.
Passive income. Performing notes.
Note investing.
Should be super easy. Financial freedom.
Marketing.
Holy shit, that's a big can of worms.
Right.
No, here's my answer. 100% of what we do.
True.
That's basically what we are as real estate investors, is we're marketers. Number
Good
one.
point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good point. Private investors.
Challenging to find. One of the hardest parts I found about real estate investing is raising capital.
Mm-hmm. And 49th parallel properties.
So that's my company. It's a Texas company, but the border for most of the Canadian-US border, that long stretch when you look at a map, that's the 49th parallel of latitude. That's where the border sits on. So that's what the name of my company, because obviously we're Canadian investing in the US. So
it's a cool name. I like it.
Thanks.
Yeah. Well, Cal, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show, and I really appreciate you being here.
Yeah, Andrew, it's been awesome. It's been fun. We'll have to do it again sometime.
Definitely.